Welcome back to Clean for Profit. Dave, what's up, man?
How you doing, bro?
Good, dude. We're doing good. Let's talk about 2026, man. There's been a lot for both of us that's happened over the last year. You just went over a really cool stat, actually, if you want to share that with the audience.
Yeah, so 2024 last year was our first year because we launched in May of 2024. In December of last year, going into our first winter, we did $550 in revenue last December. And so far right now, we're just under 27K for the month. And the month is not over yet. So stark difference. Also, if you're new to starting your business, it is really hard to gauge what you think is going to be slow seasons until you get a little bit more acclimated in your area and people know who you are. And I think the difference is people just know who we are now.
That's incredible. That's an awesome month for sure. That would be I mean, we've always ran, it's just been me and maybe one or two other guys. 27K, that would be competing with one of our busiest months ever. So
Mm,
that's really killer to get that in December. Um,
yeah.
and the implications for next season with that are pretty huge. I mean, if you're pulling down close to 30 in a month right now, um, you should expect, I don't know, I don't want to overproject. Like today, we're going to talk a little bit about what our high level plans are for 2026 in terms of what our goals are from a revenue standpoint, of course, but more importantly, what we're trying to do on our business rather than just in our business. Like, how are we going to be growing our systems, our processes, scaling, marketing, things like that. But I am curious. We're just over halfway through the month and you're at 27K. Even if you limp by for the rest of the month, you're going to clear 30K in revenue for the month. That's pretty impressive. Do you have any, when you're just like big picture, big vision thinking, do you have any ideas about what some of the peak seasons might look like for you next year?
Yeah, so our largest month in 2025 was April. That was our largest month, which seemed early.
Yeah, it does.
So but that was just that's how it landed for some reason. I think it was 33,000 if I remember correctly is what we did in April. And then we hovered in the 20K range basically every month. It was always between like 20 and 27, 28. That's like kind of where we hovered all summer long and then into the fall. But well, actually, what did you ask me? I want to make sure I don't get off track.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to overproject, but are you projecting anything for next year, like peak
Well,
season?
I
Like,
see.
what are the big dreams that you're thinking of in terms of like revenue for any given month? Hey, if you're a window cleaner or home service pro with a story worth sharing, we want to have you on the show. Clean for Profit is all about real operators building real businesses. So if you've got wins, lessons, or even failures that others can avoid, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to cleanforprofit.com/guest or click the link in the description to get started. All right, back to the episode.
I want to try to do 700,000 for 2026. And I think we can because we're over 100. We have six figures booked already for 2026. So we have 125,000 scheduled already on the books for 2026. And I think for us, the growth isn't going to necessarily just be, more marketing and more getting our eyes on or other people's eyes on our brand. It's really manpower. Like we need people. And that's kind of the thorn in my side at the moment is I gotta build a really strong team. And we're gonna work on doing one man crews. That's kind of the advice I've gotten from a lot of different other, a lot of other window cleaners out there in the industry. And in order to do that, I need at minimum probably four full time window cleaners.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow, man. Those are pretty aggressive numbers. 700K is a lot to even think about, let alone start executing on. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man.
But you know this already. Colby and I are both working with the same coach. We both have different goals. with I think what we want to do overall. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to reach a point in your business where you are going to need some form of guidance, and you need someone who's already walked and kind of cleared the path, and it can show you the way. And that was definitely a spot that I arrived in. To be honest, I actually feel like I might have been a little too arrogant, to be honest. I didn't realize how many blind spots I had until I started talking to someone who was far smarter than I was. And it started to reveal a lot of blind spots. And, I think that alone catapulted me forward substantially. And for me, I was focusing on a lot of tasks day to day that did not really bring the business revenue. And that was a big hindrance for me. And now that I have defined my own role in my own company, where I focus on sales and marketing, and if anything shows up that's not those things, I have to find someone else to do it because that's not my role. And I don't know. For me, that was just so incredibly valuable to learn.
Yeah, like Dave said, we've hired the same coach. He's a very flexible guy. He knows a lot about a lot of different industries and has a lot of really good high level kind of frameworks for how to think about approaching business in the first place. And so for us, like you said, Dave, we have different goals. It looks a little bit different for me. We're obviously focused on growth. I haven't done a ton of projections in terms of what we're trying to achieve in terms of revenue numbers for the window cleaning business for next year. Although I believe we'll be, if we can keep up with demand, which is almost certainly going to be taking a pretty parabolic direction compared to last year, given our ranking improvements over the last few months. We should be sitting around 250 to 300K in revenue for next year, which is far and above what we've ever done in a season. So that's really exciting. But more importantly for me, the main thing that we're focusing on at Sierra Window Cleaning this year is not really primarily about aggressive growth. I think honestly, that's something that's probably just going to come as a result of improved rankings, engaging in Facebook ads, etc. But we're kind of like job for job, at least in the front end of the season, we're actually going to be slowing down a little bit to make sure that we have really high quality refinements within our business so that when things do pick up, we're going to go slow to go fast, basically. So making the business more boring than it is by getting our systems really dialed in, sealing up our current branding. I've been behind on the branding side and the presentation side for a little while, which I personally think is fine on one hand. I mean, I think a lot of operators think that a professional business means looking professional. And while that is a part of it, the most important thing to do when you're pursuing excellence, when you're running a small business, is your reliability, how you communicate with clients, the quality of your work, and the quality of your follow-up. But that's also not letting me off the hook. I have definitely, for a really long time, been ignoring just how we present the business in general. So what does that actually look like? Stop being vague. We're going to be buying our first van. I've been in a 2003 Toyota Sequoia basically since we started, which I love. You can't kill that thing. I'm not selling it, but we're getting rid of the magnets. We're gonna get a beautiful full wrap on that new van, ProMaster NV200, whatever it ends up being. And this is the first time that I'm going to be hiring somebody for the season that I know is incredibly reliable. And with the move towards the agency, before, my thought was I would just hang on to the window cleaning as a source of income, maybe a little bit of social proof and like kind of call it good. But our new coach has really challenged me on that mindset. Not that I should be trying to grow the business to, a 7-8 figure business, but that I should be actually taking a lot of pride time, care, and thought and putting that into the window cleaning business so that our business stands out as kind of a standard to work towards. So that was a big mindset shift for me, as opposed to just holding on to a good income source until I can kind of eclipse it. Instead, I've been challenged to not do that, to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but making sure that we are really stewarding what we've built up to this point, which just that alone, from that one talk that we had has been, it's just restored a lot of pride into what I'm doing right now and responsibility, as opposed to just kind of having this business and kind of taking care of it.
Are you excited? Do you feel like you're more excited about it now than you probably have been for a while?
I definitely am. And, when we first started talking, I got excited because of your story, like because of your growth story. And I started thinking like, I already knew this was the case, but I was like, I knew you could grow a 7-figure window cleaning business. But I never really wanted to do that. I always, out of a window cleaning business, I always wanted something that would support my lifestyle, allow me to be home with my family and be able to support whatever employees I take on. I never had much interest in growing a window cleaning business to high 6 or 7 figures. But when we started talking, I kind of got excited about that again in a way, but still knew it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
So Dave, behind the scenes, you've heard this in our talks where I've been like conflicted because you're a cool guy. We've become buddies pretty fast and I've become really motivated by something that motivates you, but it doesn't actually sit right with me internally. And this shift of perspective of just being like, let the business grow how it's going to grow because it will grow, and just steward that growth as excellently as you can is now my mode of operation. And that's what excites me about it now, is just
I love
like
it.
having a gem. It doesn't have to be a massive gem, but it's going to be a really shiny gem. So yeah, it's been a good mindset shift to adopt.
It's amazing. And it's exciting too, because you've been doing this a lot longer than I have. And you already have built something that's working. And I think it's definitely gonna bring it to the next level for you and pour into the next thing you're looking to also build.
Yeah, totally. Which actually kind of spills into something that I wanted to talk about as well with 2026 is that I've said this before in a previous episode, but I would conservatively estimate that probably 30 to 40% of all of our revenue over the until recently has just been left on the table because I have left I haven't not followed up, but I have not systematized follow up in any way.
When you say like follow up with who?
With past clients.
Yeah.
And so, I haven't pursued the recurring revenue model. But nevertheless, we do have repeat clients. All of those repeat clients have basically come from me. This is embarrassing to even admit. Going to my Google Calendar and swiping back 6 months, picking the clients that I like, and then calling them to try to reschedule them. That's literally, I can't believe I'm even saying it, but that's been my follow-up.
Yeah.
For forever. The same thing goes for review count, man. Like up until about a year and a half ago, we had been in business for 6.5 years, and I had 23 5-star reviews on Google. Just brutal. I was never asking for them. People weren't finding me there because I was advertising first through postcards and then next through Nextdoor in Sisters when we were living there. And so again, it was like, has this client had an excellent service with me? Do I like them? Are they going to leave me a good review? Okay, fine. Maybe I'll shoot them a text with my review link. And then lastly, speed to lead. Basically, when somebody fills out my form on my website, what happens? Well, up until recently, it's just gone to my email inbox. And so next time I check my email is, well, I'm really embarrassing myself right now, but this is real.
For those who don't know,
Next time,
Colby also doesn't have a phone. He has a paper Rolodex that he keeps all of
yeah,
his friends' phone numbers in.
yeah, for sure, man. Now whenever anybody fills out a form on my website, it just texts me immediately.
Yeah.
So our response time for getting in touch with a lead has been cut down from hours to minutes or seconds.
Yeah. That's what you got. You got to have that.
Yeah, Google reviews have been automated. So anytime a job is set to complete in Jobber, we have a backend system that just pings the client automatically, puts
Yep.
them on a three text sequence over a week, and we've automated our recurring model as well, trying to get people to rebook. So similarly, just shy of 6 months and just shy of 12 months after the service, it just sends them a one-time text asking if they would like to rebook. And so these things I have a feeling are going to be, well, like I said, I had 23 reviews a year and a half ago. We're at 100 north of that now.
Let's go.
So it's been massively helpful already. But I think out of the three, the rebooking is really going to prove to be fruitful, because
It is, man.
it's no longer on a whim.
That's why we have six figures booked for next year already. It's all reoccurring. And especially it helps especially during the slow seasons. One of the reasons that I can attribute to December being as large as it is because at least 10 or 12,000 of that they're just quarterly clients and they just happen to land in December. And that's kind of the best part about making sure that you get people on service plans and whether it's you call them service plans or reoccurring window cleaning agreements, whatever you want to call them. It's so valuable because all of that stuff is going to land in what is typically a season where you might have nothing in the past because depending on where you live, it could be freezing.
Yeah. The next thing, at least for our business that we're focusing on, is fewer channels of marketing with more consistency.
Yeah.
So I haven't used Facebook ads, like I mentioned, until
We're gonna.
since like I want to say 2018, something like that. Brutal. And I just kind of left them on the table. And at the time, we were just running like picture ads. It was really, really, low level. And so we're going to lean more into Facebook ads this year. I think that's going to be a pretty massive stream of revenue, but fewer channels and more consistency in those channels. So we're already leaning more into boosting our rankings through review automation. We have all of our SEO content for 2026 already scheduled to publish to our website and Google Business Profile. So that's locked in. And then we'll see. We actually might be trying a door hanging strategy. One thing about our market is that, we live in a small town. And then as you go down Highway 80 towards Sacramento, it gets more and more populated. There's one market, town called Roseville, with a ton of suburban houses. And so I've been playing with this idea for a while of just taking like 3 or 4 days at the beginning of a month and just going and putting up, 7,500, 10,000 door hangers for 2 or 3 months in a row.
That's how you
and
do it.
backing that up with hyper targeted Facebook ads.
Yep.
It's one of those things that takes a lot of consistency, but when you're talking in terms of numbers that big with 3 or 4 touches over an early season, you can expect a pretty healthy amount of results from an effort like that. Worst case, we're just going to be boots on the ground for a little bit, throwing up, tens of thousands of door hangers to really build that momentum early on in the season.
Well, and that's the way to do it too, because there's a lot of people who say things like, oh, I hung up door hangers and it didn't work. And my first question is always, well, how many did you hang up? And when they come back to me and they say, oh, I put up 500. I'm like, yeah, you should have done 5,000. Like you need to add another 0 to that.
Right.
Hanging door hangers works and it's the right thing. If you don't hang up enough, it's going to feel like that didn't work. And I also like that you said earlier about choosing just very specific marketing strategies, and not thinking that you need to do Meta, mailers, door knockers, Google local service ads, Thumbtack, Angie's List. Like, a lot of people think that they need to be on every single marketing platform that exists, and it's just not the case. Your ad dollars are very slim on most of those platforms, and again, kind of goes back to the whole quantity thing that I was just talking about. If you want any of those platforms to work, you need large dollar amounts in those systems. But if you spread yourself so thin that you got like $100 in this platform, $200 in this platform, you're going to think none of those platforms work.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
I think that's a great strategy. Pick 3, maybe 4 marketing strategies and run with those.
Yeah. And Google's been good. It's time to run with Facebook for sure because I know it'll work in our market with the right plan, and with some help from you. And then door hangers have been tried and true for us. We've never pursued it as aggressively as I just articulated, which is a good thing. I mean, I know, you know, even accounting for our lack of like extreme follow up, especially early season, that'll be a really good way to kind of spike business quickly,
Yeah.
if there happens to be any gaps. So the last thing for us, man, is we're moving from a production centered model to a systems centered model. Not that we're looking to decrease our production by any means, but I think that a lot of business owners feel this way when they start to realize that like hustling only gets you so far. Hustling gets you to 5, 10, 12, maybe flirting with 15K a month.
Yeah.
But once you get past that mark, there is a point where you need to slow down for a really short time and flesh out some standard operating procedures if you haven't already. You're walking now, so you can run really shortly after. And our SOPs, we have them. They're all in my brain. And so getting those actually written out on paper, maybe if we decide to scale beyond 2026, getting them into video trainings, I think is going to be a key for our growth, especially this year. Like I've said before in previous talks, I've hired before with varying degrees of success, usually relatively successfully, but any flaw in my hiring or my conduct as a business owner has been a result of not having standardized SOPs that we can fall back onto. That's the primary goal in 2026, is to make sure that I need to be done being the standard. We need to have SOPs that are the standard, regardless of if I woke up on the wrong side of the bed that morning,
Yeah.
for example. So that's a big one for us.
Yeah, and that's what also what makes, if it's ever something that you want to sell, if an investor sees the business and they realize that if they buy the company, they need to buy you with it, it's less valuable to them. They are most likely going to want a business that's got all of the systems in place already, all of the right team members. And if they lose Colby and the business shuts down because Colby's not there, yeah, you don't want that. And that's kind of what I'm working on building too, where like right now for us, Glass Therapy, it's a recognizable brand, but in our community, I am very much tied to that still. I remember when I hired my first 2 guys, I would probably say maybe 15 times there were customers that called and they were expecting me to show up at their house to do their windows.
Right.
And while that's an honor, obviously, it's you have to build something that pulls you as the owner away from it. And instead of you having complete and utter control, distributed competence is far better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I think I know for a fact that that's something that I'm going to go through over the next year. I mean, I still plan on working in the business to some degree in 2026, but plan by late spring is to have either one tech that's good to go solo, or if we stick with a two tech model, to have a second tech hired out as well.
Yeah.
And I know I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm thinking of a dozen clients right now that would be expecting me personally to show up and be the one that's going to be doing that work. And so it's like, how do you reframe yourself in the eyes of existing clients as a company that's still professional, but not always carrying the face of the owner with it? And I mean, the answer is that your employees act exactly how you would on the job site. I guess it does come from cloning yourself through standard operating procedures and taking all of the frameworks that I currently have in my head and putting them onto literally physical paper, so that, you know, your standards are reflected in your entire organization.
Yeah. Yeah. And a byproduct of doing that isn't just to duplicate yourself, but it makes training and onboarding and scaling that much better too. And the quality of the service, right? You don't want to have a team of 10 window cleaners and every single customer that those 10 guys go to every customer gets a different experience because your window cleaners say or act or do whatever they want in their own little process. You want it to be in sync, where every single customer, no matter who shows up at the house, the experience is the same every time.
Anything else that we didn't cover that you're kind of fixing your gaze on for 2026? It sounds like aggressive growth is the way, and that you've got a big people problem to kind of figure out because of that.
Yeah, I know I called it a thorn in my side, because Nick was like, "Hey, hiring in your type of industry," he's like, "that is going to be a thorn in your side all the time, and it's something that you almost always have to be doing, especially when you start growing, because it's also likely that the turnover rate could be potentially high. I don't even really know for certain. But I mean, one of my goals is to not have that. I want to be able to pay my team really well, so that this isn't just a job that 18, 19, and 20-year-olds want until they're out of college and then they go do something else. I really want this to be something that offers as a career to adults.
That sounds like the American dream, man. Let's bring it back. Working an honest job, being able to provide for your family, and not have to, like, many people, the last thing they want to be doing is building their own business.
Mm.
It's not built for lots of people. I mean, that sounds like a dream to me. Being able to run a business that people actually want to work for long term. That comes from good incentives.
Yeah.
It comes from good management, and it comes through consistency. I think the main thing you're going to come up against being a single service business is that if you're avoiding laying people off, that means that they're staying busy enough during the off season to sustain their employment, which means that you're busier every year, which means that you're going to have to always be growing until you stop. Because right now you're busy enough to support your current employees in December. That means you're going to need more techs in June. And so as long as that cycle keeps repeating, like Nick said, man, you're going to have a hiring process that's just always rolling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind
of
a cool and unique problem.
I haven't figured that part out yet. So, we're still trying to dial that in, but yeah, it's such a hard thing to guess too, right? It's really hard to project any form of growth when my December last year compared to this year is a 40x difference.
Right. Yeah. Jeez.
So obviously that's an anomaly. That's not going to happen year over year, but
maybe not.
It does make it challenging to guess, like, how many do I hire? And what if I overhire? And then I do have to lay people off, which is terrible. Like, I would hate to have to do that to somebody, So who knows? We'll see. That's the part of owning a business, I think, that a lot of people might be like, yeah, I'd rather be a W-2.
Yeah,
than have to
for
deal
sure.
than have to deal with that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, good talk, man. I'm excited for next year. I kind of like I think you've done a lot of the refinement that I'm trying to do over the next 12 months. So it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see your business grow um, into 2026, and we'll keep checking in on the regular to see where we're at. And yeah, hopefully we both have the same amount of hair by the end of the year.
Well, mine's I don't. You got a lot more than I do, bro.
Cool,
Mine's
cool.
going out.
Okay, right on. I think I think I don't know. I don't want to say it because I don't want to curse myself, but I think I've got good hair genes. We'll see.
Mm,
Dad's is thinning out a little bit, but other
bro,
side of the family is doing great.
I am the only male in my entire family that has hair. The only one.
Your time is coming then, friend.
Oh yeah,
I hope you're on the bald subreddit by now.
dude. I'm like on the verge of Google. I'm the guy that's already Googling like hair transplant stuff. I'm like, this can't happen.
Oh, they're very supportive there on the bald subreddit. I kind of just lurk because it's such a good community. So it's a good group of dudes over there. So
It's
right
awesome.
on, Dave.
All right.
We'll do it again soon, man.
Sounds good, bro.